Hello, class. This is Brandon Dorns. I am going to be talking about or discussing the topic of the Declaration of Independence and its impact on independence movements in North America. So I'm going to begin with pretty much the basics of the Declaration of Independence right now, such as the Declaration of Independence was established on July 4th, 1776. It was created during a war with Great Britain, obviously the Independence War. Um, what the Declaration of Independence truly is a legal document of the 13 colonies unanimously declaring themselves 13 sovereign states away from Great Britain. And the document was drafted by Thomas Jefferson. All right, so now I'm going to get into mainly more of the conditions that led to the Declaration of Independence. All right, so let's get that started. All right, so I'm going to start with a little bit of background even before this war. So the French and Indian War was a fight between Britain and France that lasted between 1754 through 1763. Because the British ended in debt, they began to demand more and more from the colonists, and the colonists didn't really like that because they had never been pressured by their mother country like this before. And on top of that, Parliament passed a law called the Royal Proclamation of 1763, which prohibited any settlements beyond the Appalachian Mountains. All right, so beginning in 1764 is when Great Britain has started reprimanding the colonists and putting more and more stress on them, passing more and more acts. So I'm gonna get into many of the acts that they had leading to the Declaration of Independence. So, the first really important one was the Stamp Act of 1765. The Stamp Act is an act that required stamps to be purchased or included on many different items and documents such as cards, legal papers, newspapers, and more. This was the first direct tax that Britain had imposed on the colonists. In order to fight back, the Sons of Liberty were created, and the Daughters of Liberty were secret organizations that were created to fight against the Stamp Act. The next set of acts were the Townshend Acts of 1767. These were taxes that were created to help colonial officials become more independent of the colonists by providing them with a source of income. Smuggling of the affected goods meant that British moved more troops into important ports such as Boston. The increased troops led to many clashes, including the famous Boston Massacre. All right, so following the Boston Massacre in 1763 was when Parliament passed the Tea Act, giving the British East India Company a monopoly over all the tea in Boston, in America at the time. This led to the Boston Tea Party, where a group of colonists, dressed as Indians, dumped tea from 3 ships into the Boston Harbor. In response, Great Britain passed the Intolerable Acts. These placed numerous restrictions on the colonists, including the closing of the Boston Harbor, which was really damaging to their economy. All right, so in response to the Intolerable Acts, 12 out of the 13 colonies met in Philadelphia from September to October in 1764. This is known as the First Continental Congress. The association was created for calling the boycott of British goods. The continuing escalation of hostility resulted in violence, and when April 1775 happened, British troops traveled to Lexington and Concord to take control of stored colonial gunpowder and to capture Samuel Adams and John Hancock. This resulted in an all-out battle where 8 Americans were killed there, and the British troops retreating, losing 70 men in the process. So this is the beginning of the War of Independence. So now, really quickly, we're going to get into the ideas or the goals of the Declaration of Independence. So basically, the Declaration of Independence is not only a legal document, a logistic document, but a practical one too. One goal of the Americans was they wanted to gain a military aid from any country opposing or enemies with Great Britain. They wanted to get a military aid so they could get help, so make sure they won the war to get independent from them. The influence of the Declaration was not only just military aid, but it was also an ideological one too. So one of the most famous lines in the Declaration of Independence was, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." And even still today, these inspirational languages express our profound commitment to human equality and have been cited and used in many other American legal documents today, from then till today. Another important line are, "Here endowed by the Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." These lines suggest that the whole purpose of government is to secure the people's rights, and that government gets its power from the consent of the governed. meaning that the government is for the people and by the people. That the people control the government to a certain extent, and the government should be there to help the people. So these are the main ideas that are expressed in the Declaration of Independence. All right, and so the next thing we're going to talk about is the major battles and the military campaigns of the Declaration. So one of the major battles was the military battle of Saratoga. Saratoga was comprised of two different battles. Battle one happened in September 19th, 1777, and Battle two occurred on October 7th, 1777. The Battle of Saratoga is significant because it was a turning point in the war. This is where the Americans really started taking significant wins, and the most important part of this was that France joined the war from this. So they got military and economic aid from France from the Battle of Saratoga, which helped push them more towards independence. All right, and then the last battle of the War of Independence was the Battle of Yorktown. The Battle of Yorktown was with the American General George Washington and the French. George Washington had a force of 17,000 French and colonial troops, and they began a siege on the British at the Battle of Yorktown. British General Lord Charles Cornwallis ended up surrendering, and this is the most important battle of the Revolutionary War because this is the final battle towards the end of the war. And after this war, peace negotiations began in 1782, and then the Treaty of Paris was signed on September 3rd, 1783, and America was a free country, no longer controlled by Great Britain. So these are the main ideas of the Declaration of Independence, and that's basically it. All right.